Welcome to Shopping with the Contessa, the Contessa's Cheap Tricks. Today we're going to talk about how to buy things that look medieval and feel medieval and function medieval, but fit a shoestring budget. On today's Cheapo Similar tricks, we have the tablecloth. Very nice. So here, it looks like a nice tablecloth, and it's got this beautiful blue striping, which is reminiscent of the Peruvian towels and tablecloths that you see here, and that we discuss in my mid-price market finds video. But this is actually neither a reproduction, even though it certainly has that look, nor is it actually a tablecloth. This is a shower curtain from Target, a purveyor of fine household goods amongst other items. This is actually part of their Hearth and Hand collection. Hearth and Hand with Magnolia. I have no idea what that is, but it's part of that collection. And apparently these little knotted fringes are hand tied, I've discovered. This only costs about $20 versus this reproduction item, which is $75. But this is very versatile in addition to being much less expensive. You can use it as a tablecloth that looks very much like the Peruvian tablecloths, but you can also use it actually as a curtain. As you can see here, in Italy, especially in the 14th century, you have lots of imagery of interiors, especially bedrooms, decorated with curtains that are just like these, used to diaper the walls. So, tablecloth, wall hanging, versatile item, $20. I call that a good trick. So let's talk a little bit about the actual item that this is cheapo simularing for. I just invented that verb too. Hashtag cheapo similars. The Peruvian originals of these are actually called Perugiano, because in the inventories from this era, they are referred to as being towels or tablecloths from Perugia. Right? And that's probably because that was a weaving center for these textiles. The original, as you see here, actually is a damask. It's a linen damask. So it has that lovely little lozenge design, and it's actually woven in the main body from linen, but the blue bands are woven from cotton, which has been dyed with either woad or indigo. Chemically, the two dye stuffs are completely the same, and so there's no way to know by chemical analysis whether it was woad or indigo. However, they used cotton because apparently it takes the dye stuff better. And it was apparently the Guild of the Fustians who wove these because, as per their charter and as per the laws in Perugia and possibly in other places as well, they were forbidden from working in anything, they were forbidden from weaving pure linen. And so to get around that, they used cotton for the blue banding. So these kind of tablecloths were used by upper middle class to upper class households. So if you're trying to create that kind of impression, but you don't have an upper class budget, this is definitely a way I can recommend going. We have our tablecloth now nicely laid, but I'd like to actually eat something at this table, and I'm not going to put it on this nice Cheapo Similar tablecloth. So let me show you a Cheapo Similar trencher option. This is the original, and this particular wooden trencher is actually based on a find from the Mary Rose, which is a ship that sank in 1507 or 1508. I still haven't looked it up. Correction here. And it sank with all souls on board, unfortunately, in the English Channel. Fortunately, though, every single item on the ship was pretty much perfectly preserved in the anaerobic mud of the English Channel, and they've excavated it, and they've brought all those items up. Objects from daily life that we could never have really believed they had or envisaged properly, but now we can. And so this trencher is one of them. This is a replica. It's not inexpensive. They're $40 or $50, $60, depending on who's making it for you. But we have a cheapo similar option. Handler?
Madonna Contessa.
Thank you. This round wooden trencher, which are also attested in certain visual sources at any rate, see here. This is actually a modern German breadboard, and there's some theories that these actually evolved literally out of the wooden trenchers that were placed on the table to go under the bread trenchers so that the juices from the bread trencher wouldn't seep out and end up all over the nice tablecloth. So that's one theory. I have no primary source evidence of that, but I thought you might find that as a possibility interesting. You can find these in Germany everywhere, in any and all secondhand shops. They are so easy to find. You can get them for a couple of euros. So if you're visiting Germany, or if you live in Germany, or in many places in Central Europe, in fact, this is a great option. If you're living in other places, the former colonies, as it were, might be harder to find such items in secondhand shops and flea markets and even some lower priced antique places, although maybe not. So keep an eye out for items like this on your secondhand shopping adventures, because this is a great cheapo similar. Moving on. Okay, so this apple doesn't actually need any utensils to eat, but I would like to eat something other than an apple. And I would like to not get my fingers too terribly filthy doing so, so I would like a spoon. So, Handler, the spoon.
Madonna Contessa.
This is referred to as a, he's adorable, isn't he? This is referred to as a fig spoon because the bowl of it looks like a fig if you were to cut a fig in half, for instance, maybe more like that, since figs don't usually sit on the narrow end. And you can find these for anywhere from, $15 and up from various replica pewter casters. But maybe that's too much for a shoestring budget. So this next thing I'm going to show you is not actually a cheapo similar because it's actually an authentic replica. So it's a cheapo replica. So hashtag Creative Contessa cheapo replicas. Here you can see a picture. These are the wooden versions of these spoons, some of which were found also on that ill-fated Mary Rose shipwreck, and others that are found in the Museum of London. So these are actual replicas of ones found on the Mary Rose, that poor ill-fated ship, but also there are some extant earlier ones in the Museum of London. And you can buy these actually from historic enterprises for $6, which for a reproduction wooden spoon is actually pretty shoestring in terms of budget, and they will last forever. So if you can't afford, $15 or $20 for the pewter version, then I definitely recommend this metal version or this wooden version. Unfortunately, I did look around for cheapo similars that have this fig shape, and they just don't exist, because here's the reason. Modern spoons are not shaped like this, and any kind of spoon that doesn't have this shape just doesn't have the medieval look. However, the Victorians were really fond of remaking these, especially as apostle spoons. So any non-modern reproduction you're going to find is going to probably be a Victorian reproduction, and therefore an antique, and therefore more expensive, but also therefore possibly containing lead. So I recommend the inexpensive, very nice wooden replica from Historic Enterprises for cheapo replica. Next, I will need some assistance cutting my meat, perhaps into smaller pieces, although a proper pantler should serve food that's already been cut into the proper bite-sized pieces. But I need implements for that. So, pantler. Excellent, thank you. This, a lot of you asked me in my last Cheapo Similars video about options for silverware that were inexpensive. And again, this is not a cheapo similar, this is a cheapo replica. And this is available from Boots by Bohemond, this entire set, basically, for $20. So you get your eating knife. And I think if you, we actually had to sharpen this ourselves. We had someone professionally sharpen this so that it actually had an edge. And you have what is an awl that can be used for actually also as a knife steel. Or some people say that you can use it to actually prick down your meat and then carve, although as I say in the etiquette manuals from this era on eating, they mention nothing about using this item, but they mention plenty about using the knife and your fingers and how you should do that. So I'm really kind of leaning towards this more being a knife steel, so for sharpening your blade, and also for just having the awl for general use for poking holes in things, etc. whenever you need it, rather than being used for dining. But there's debate about that. So this is a set that's available for $20. It's not, hand forged by a local craftsman, which of course I do prefer, but I understand that not everyone can afford that. I think that for $20, this complete set definitely meets the shoestring budget requirements. And if you are actually interested in spending or laying out a great deal more funds, then I can recommend this video here for the handmade, forged by a really experienced master craftsman in England, Todd Stuff, his complete set, which also includes a gorgeous brass spoon. Otherwise, Boots by Bohemond, you can see here, $20 for sheath, knife, and all. Thank you all for joining me for today's Contessa's cheap tricks, cheapo similars, cheapo replicas, and interesting items you can find in unexpected places. I love to hear from you. Please tell me in the comments below what kind of cheapo similars or cheapo replicas you've found, and please do share pictures. I love to hear everyone's creativity. I love to see everyone's creativity and hear about their adventures. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay creative.